Many new GMs starting to play Sword World 2.5 might be wondering what scenario they should run first. One option is to use a ready-to-play scenario, which can be found in published materials. These scenarios have already been designed and tested, saving the GM time and effort. However, some GMs prefer to create their own scenarios, as it allows for greater degree of customization and creative freedom. In this video, we will look at both options in more detail. There are multiple scenarios perfect for beginners. You can find a full list of scenarios in the Drive folder, along with all the other translated 2.5 scenarios. Next, we will describe the best scenarios for starting level characters, along with spoilers. Beware! Defeat the Barbarous scenario is taken from Core Rulebook 1. The player characters are tasked with finding a missing boy, which leads them to a barbarous stronghold inside a shallow abyss. This is a two-part adventure, with the player characters growing in the middle of the adventure. The first part involves exploration and a fight at the end, while the second takes place in a shallow abyss, a unique element of the Alflame continent, and offers several paths to take. It is a good scenario, but it can take up to 6 hours to complete. Voyage to the continent of Alflame is a scenario from GM Magazine and involves player characters traveling from the 2.0 continent, Terrestier, to the 2.5 Alflame continent. It includes a fair share of role-playing, adventure on the sea, and investigation of a sunken ship. This scenario is perfect for introducing a new continent or moving your group from the Terrestier continent. In contrast to the previous scenario, it should take approximately 4 hours to complete. The Temptation of Soulsgaard Reign is a solo gamebook scenario that does not require any rulebooks to play. It is relatively short and introduces unique elements of the world to the player while showing the basics of the game. Playing this scenario can help you get a feel for the game before you GM your first 2.5 game. Of course, if you're new to scenario writing, it might seem daunting at first. However, with a little bit of guidance, you'll soon be able to write your own unique scenario with ease. In order to help you get started on the right track, we'll put together a sample scenario using the helpful guidelines outlined in the Start Guide Granzale. By following these guidelines, you'll be able to create a scenario that incorporates all the necessary elements while still maintaining your own personal touch. So don't be afraid to experiment and try new things. With a little bit of practice, you'll be an expert scenario writer in no time. First, we need to select a scenario type. Scenarios are broadly classified into 3 types: dungeon exploration, city adventure, and wilderness adventure. For this guide, we will be creating a wilderness adventure set in the Magnoa Steppe country. For an example of how to create a dungeon exploration scenario, refer to the Start Guide Granzale. The objective of a scenario is the condition for success that the characters are requested to achieve, or it may be their own goal. For example, the objective in our scenario is to deliver an important family heirloom from Magnoa to a wedding that will be held soon in the wilderness. For the next part, I asked Ignis to help. Please.
Once you have decided on the type of scenario and its objectives, consider what obstacles exist that seek to prevent the PCs from achieving those objectives. There are many types of enemies that Sword World 2.5 can provide. In this scenario, the enemies will be barbarous, classic enemies in Sword World 2.5. The chief of the goblins, Nob Nob, received a tip from an enemy of the family that a valuable heirloom would be transported by the player characters. Nob Nob first sends his lackeys to take the heirloom by force. When they are defeated, he decides to personally attack the wedding, attempting to kill everyone and take all the valuables for himself. When designing a scenario, combat balance is important. Combat encounters can be categorized as minion encounters or boss fights. For minion encounters, use monsters at the average PC level or 1 lower and include 1 monster less than the number of PCs. For boss fights, the boss should be 1 or 2 levels above the average PC and include minions roughly the same level as the PCs while including 1 or 2 minions less than we have PCs. Sword shards can be used to enhance the strength of monsters instead of increasing level. Sword shards at 5 HP and 1 MP per shard, as well as improve the monster's willpower and fortitude checks. Usually boss monsters get the same number of sword shards as their monster level. By adding 2 shards to a regular goblin, Nob Nob, the goblin chief, can be created. To spice things up, you can also give bosses combat feats, like Decoy Attack. So, let's give Nob Nob a Decoy Attack, why don't we?
Thanks! One important aspect of any scenario is the NPCs, or non-player characters. These are the characters that the player characters will interact with throughout the adventure. In this scenario, the NPCs will include the family members who are getting married, as well as potential allies that the player characters may encounter on their journey through the Magnoa Steppe country. And also a jealous former boyfriend who contacted goblins. You can use the basic scenario flow and Sword World 2.5 simplified scenario template to add more details to this scenario. However, for the purpose of this video, we will speed up the process and show you what the filled template looks like. Of course, you can use it as is, as another ready-to-play scenario. If you are a new GM, don't be afraid to try both ready-to-play scenarios and creating your own. Ready-to-play scenarios are a great way to get started and learn the rules, while creating your own allows for more customization and creativity. Whatever you choose, make sure to have fun and experiment with different ideas. Fuck! Ignis, put traps into scenarios, not here.